notionally today our main focus is on digital innovation, recognising that that has its own internationalising aspect as well. So I'm going to ask Hugh and Gweirydd from S4C first of all to do a short presentation around some of the digital innovations that they have been harbouring and developing here. So, without any further ado, I will hand over to Hugh Marshall first of all.
Yeah. So hello, Bob. Hello, everybody. So last year I was charged by Ian Jones, the Chief Executive of S4C, to develop a new digital strategy. The strategy itself has 5 main areas that it looks at. So first one priority is meeting the audience's needs. So obviously the audience is key for everything we do. Second is innovation. So how do we use innovation in order to engage with audiences? Integrating social media, because prior to coming up with a strategy, even though we use social media, we didn't actually have a person responsible for social media. So part of my strategy was the appointment of somebody, and great is the result. So it's good that you write a strategy and something happens. The other one, and I think this is important, is becoming more important, is increasing income for S4C, but also to support the growth of the digital economy in Wales. And finally, the final bit, which is, again, trying to make myself redundant, developing a culture of digital as part of everybody's everyday work. Restructuring our output for the under-14s and integrating S4C content into the educational space. So a lot of work has gone on in this place. I don't know if you're aware of Hub. Hub is the All Wales learning platform. So every pupil and teacher in Wales has access. So obviously it's very resource driven. Video is a big driver. The Donaldson report, which is reviewing the curriculum in Wales, has come up with from 2018 that digital competency will be part of the curriculum alongside literacy and numeracy. So, and what's vitally important is obviously that it's in the Welsh language, and it's the normalisation of Welsh language across these platforms. Developing technology that locates the user within our S4C's digital platforms. This is key because I think we are, as a nation in Wales, we are very parochial. So we are interested in what's going on around us. A lot of our content is localised. So how do you make sure that if you live somewhere that you can get items from that day's output that's relative to you and get in? But it's also raising awareness, because there are lots of people probably aren't aware, people aren't watching S4C, that we are creating content that's local to them. Investing in new distribution platforms. The main one we've been using is Grabio, but it's interesting by investing a relatively small monthly sum in a platform that already exists that allows you to get your content to an audience quickly. If we were developing that internally, we could have done it, but it would have taken us months, and we just haven't got the human resource to do it. So we invest strategically in order to achieve specific aims. So one of the key things we're looking at is how do we encourage UGC to get young people to create that content. So we've invested along with Welsh Government in projects like GameTube, which is showing kids how they do walkthroughs for Minecraft, how they do walkthroughs for computer games in Welsh and upload it. Because what we make them aware is if you're making that walkthrough in English, you're one of a billion videos on YouTube. You do it in Welsh, you've actually got more of a chance of getting your content noticed and watched. So those were the main things. So it's quite interesting going through these things. You know, we have actually achieved quite a lot when you consider that we are a very small team. But there's obviously more and more pressure on us as a broadcaster to be across more platforms. And this is something you have to try and relate to the audience. People's expectations of us are like the BBC, but not the BBC. We haven't got 3.5 billion a year to spend on platforms and on things like the iPlayer. But that's what's interesting for us. How do we then cooperate with people like the BBC and people like TG Caha? How do we work together and collectively to get these technologies into people? So again, there's a responsibility in us to make sure we get content on YouTube to Welshify it, because if people see that it's a Welsh language, 80% of young people use YouTube as their search engine to find music. Mm-hmm. So again, if you want to put Welsh language music on there, having that space and that interface to do that is vital.
So we looked at the actual content we were sharing. We saw that, as everyone knows, a few clips go viral on the internet. So video has increased dramatically. Facebook is now equal to YouTube with the amount of views it gets online. So we basically cut it all down and said twice a day and that's it. Twice a day on Facebook, and that's all we're going to do. What this forced the team to do was to think about what they were actually doing. So rather than just posting anything out, just handing out the flyers on the street, should we say, they were actually thinking about what those people were going to do with it, because they had less time with these people. Hugh brought in a system called Grabio. It was a live clipping tool. So as the feed was coming into Grabio, we could clip it out and share it instantly online. And these clips were getting, rather than hundreds of views now, we were getting thousands of views all of a sudden. And all this together added to this mass engagement boost that we've had over the last 6 to 7 months. So we've gone from reporting on thousands of views, thousands of reach, to reporting on millions. So if last month alone we had about 3 million reach on our video content, about 500,000 views, as opposed to reporting back in 2014 that we had 10,000 views on all our content. So we've gone up 600-700% over the last year.
But we also we don't just look at the numbers, because obviously numbers are nice.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at something like Heno, which is our daily magazine, so we gave them access to the tool, having discussed with the production team for a long period of time about using short form content on other platforms in order to promote their programme. And they just couldn't get their heads around it. So we gave them Grabio and they looked at it. Oh my God, it was like children in a sweet shop. They were posting everything. And it was just like this splurge of content. So again, they were excited. It was great though, because they actually seen the value of it. But we look at those clips, and it's not just a case of if something gets several thousand views, you look at how many likes it's had as well. So you can see this correlation. It's not just, they're just 3-second views. You can actually see people have engaged with it. So we had one about the smallest cafe in Wales, in Glanarmon, 40,000 views, 500 likes. So you know the people have actually looked at that. An item on London Fashion Week, 300 views, 10 likes. So it's obviously people haven't actually engaged with that content. So it's not just the actual number, but also how do you use that then? It's saying, well, the fashion items on here are just not getting any views. So A, why bother putting fashion items on there? But B, is there something about how we make fashion items that the audience aren't engaging with? So you can use it as not just a promotion, but also as a tool to understand, how they can improve their output.
The next step, obviously, is increasing. So going up to that third slot. We wouldn't go more than 3 times a day. It would just be bugging the audience, if anything. We don't want to be intrusive.
Yeah.
That's the balance you've got to have on social media. It's a permissive marketing tool. They've given you permission to be in their lives as such now, because social media is so every day. Any of your content, you need to be looking at the engagement stats to it, because again, it's, do you print 100 flyers or do you print 100,000 flyers? If it's not being read, then it's pointless. So it's really important that the content is strong in the first place. We don't just say we've got 100,000 reach. The engagement is also more important. We're obviously looking to the future now, and Snapchat and Instagram and Periscope on the side is the way we're trying to take this. So we've got our offline video content going on, and sometimes as live. But now we're looking towards what we can do with these new. Periscope is a live streaming app. Can we bring this into our broadcasting as a second screen in any way? Of course, SOC did have a second channel, and like ITV2 now, as in we always watch Take Me Out on a Saturday night. We always switch over to ITV2 to watch the gossip one. As in, can we bring in that sort of idea with Periscope?
And I think something like Snapchat, because traditionally we were focusing on a younger demographic with Twitter and Facebook. Well, putting your energies, obviously you need to speak with different audiences, with different languages, depending on the platform. So that's why we've been looking at what TG Carby are doing with Snapchat, because we've seen clearly there's been a shift of the audience from platforms. I run a couple of accounts on Twitter just to sort of test the market and stuff. And you see, a year and a half ago, if you put a message out, it would get 100, 150 retweets or favourites, with a lot of those from young people. They're getting, it's getting less of a volume of likes and retweets, but it's from an older demographic, so it's clear that younger audience, they've left, they've gone, they're somewhere else. So that's why we're looking at something like Snapchat. But again, you need to have a strategic, it's no point saying, we're going on Snapchat. Right, well, what's the content? How does that fit in with... So this is where, across content and commissioning, we need to work out what we're doing. We're going to go to the Earth and the Eisteddfod and do that recruitment, but then make sure we've got that content, relevant content, available to that audience, and then give up on Facebook and Twitter for that audience. We just put all our energy into Snapchat because we can't spread ourselves. Otherwise, you're just spreading yourself thinly and you're just wasting your time. You're better off doing one thing and doing it really, really well.
Most of our followers on Facebook are from Wales. The second largest community is actually in London. So we do have pockets of communities that have left Wales, but to be honest, our engagement stats from those communities sometimes rival the ones in Wales, so it's obvious that they're more passionate for
And from a viewing
sharing.
point of view, when we've gone on platforms like Virgin, we've seen our audiences, it's actually increasing in England. You know, that we're getting large viewings out. So what's the saying? Gwell Cymro oddi cartre. You know, so basically, because we take it for granted, we're here, a Welsh language S4C is here. But if you're outside of Wales, then it is actually an access point to you from, you know, giving you your cultural compass, whatever. So we find that, you know, there's an interest there and getting out there. But if you actually look at what the amount of people in Wales, for example, who've got Facebook accounts, it's 2.2 million, and a lot of those are older people. But what you find is that doesn't correlate with the Welsh language ones. And my assumption there is that older people don't tend to, because they don't understand the technology, or they've got somebody else to set it up for them, they're probably not aware of the other bits. So that 161,000 is probably an underrepresentation. But what's great for us is if you want to target people within those age ranges and demographics, you can just target those people, and it's far, far cheaper as well. So from a marketing point of view, your spend goes far, far further. Because with these platforms, these technologies, we can actually associate them with audiences, with, you know, sexes, ages, and it's a really powerful tool.
I'm very conscious of the time, so I'm thinking that maybe what we should do is have our panel.